Step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light. You are beautiful just the way you are. Step into the love. You're illuminated by the glory of God's love. Step into the truth. From within your abundance overflows. Our love can change one life. One life can change the world. Step into the light. Step into the love. Step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light. Step into the love. Step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. I am the light of the world. You are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. So move with me, step with me, step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. I am the light of the world. You are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. So move with me, step with me, step into the light.
Hello, and welcome, beloveds. Welcome to Vida Spiritual Learning Center. I am the spiritual director, Sunshine Day, of this amazing teaching center, a center where we learn spiritual practices, where we learn to live, and we learn how to think, not necessarily what to think, but how to think and how to create the life that we crave. So I welcome you to this consciousness this morning. We are indeed a loving and very, very dynamic community. And so I welcome you to join us each and every Sunday, but also during the week for our courses and classes that are coming up in the fall. In the meantime, let me share with you what we're about by reading our vision and mission statement. I'm going to read it in English and in Spanish because we are indeed an inclusive community and we're including our Spanish speakers in our community as well. Here we go. By valuing and empowering all, we inspire a fulfilling and joyous life. A valorar y potenciar todo, inspiramos una vida plena y alegre. Now, isn't it wonderful to know that we can live an inspired, fulfilling, and joyous life? Well, you'll hear a little bit about how we get to do that later on in our talk. And you will get an opportunity to experience that this morning because it all happens by means of our spiritual practice. By means of our spiritual practice, we actually live our genuine life. And leading us in spiritual practice today is our practitioner, Gary Takasian. He's going to lead us in a meditation, and then he's going to open us up in prayer. So I invite you to just surrender yourself and sit back as Gary Takasian guides us in our morning meditation.
Well, thank you, Reverend Sunshine. Good to be here this morning. And as I look at the day, I notice that today is Father's Day. It's a day in which we honor the father figures in our lives, both our birth fathers, and I like to think also of those who have filled that role for us in other ways. And it also happens to be Juneteenth, which is this new national holiday that President Biden created as a day to remember when the last of the enslaved people in our country learned that they were free. And this was a full 2 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. Now, both of these days can call up deep emotional memories. And I think it's important and appropriate that our monthly focus this month is on the body. And specifically, this week's topic is the body remembers. A couple of quotes that I like that I think speaks to this. One of them comes from Ernest Holmes, from his book, The Essential Ernest. And he writes, "The intelligence in the physical body is a subconscious intelligence. It works creatively, but within certain fixed limitations. It is like a person sent on an errand and told what to do, and knowing only to do what they are told." And another one from The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. And it's mindfulness not only makes it possible to survey our internal landscape with compassion and curiosity, but it can also actively steer us in the right direction for self-care. And that self-care, I think, is very important, because as we focus on our bodies are a perfect example of the creative power of the mind, both our collective unconscious and, as we merge with the one, but also our individual bodies. And they are responsive and ready to manifest whatever they're told. Our body responds in that way. Many of us have had experiences of the mind-body healing in one time or another. And while that's wonderful and it's powerful and that connection can be just amazing, it's good to be aware and to remember that our bodies are always listening to our minds, and they're following the instructions that we have given them. And it's important to be careful with these instructions and the imprints that we give, because our bodies will store the emotions and the thoughts that we try to push down and ignore. And when we do that, and we kind of try to spiritually gloss over these experiences, it only pushes them down and allows them to fester that wound, and to be ignored is to be leaving them deep within our bodies. And when we bypass our traumas, we're actually telling our bodies that they cannot have the freedom that they need, and they can manifest as discomfort, pain, even disease. But by allowing ourselves to feel whatever our body is trying to tell us, we give honor to the feelings and the emotions. And when they receive the recognition that they seek, we begin to heal those hurts. So whether we today feel hurts or joys, we're going to spend the next few minutes in a quiet meditation to ourselves and pay attention to what your body is trying to tell you. Because when we do that, we are honoring that presence within us and beginning the opening up to be free of whatever those pains and parts of our body that bring us some of that tension, allowing it to just release. So as we move into this time, let us take a nice deep breath together and just bring in that presence, that divine presence that surrounds us. And just breathe in and allow ourselves to begin to feel that parts of our body, and just begin to relax all the way through from head to toe. And as we do that, just feel each part of our body. Because some of us will hold tension, for example, in our necks or our shoulders. For some of it, it's more maybe in our midsection. And even some of us will hold pain in our legs and tension there. So right now, without giving too much attention, just allow yourself to be present and mindful in this time. What is your body trying to say? What is it telling you? And allow yourself to feel and be present with whatever that feeling may be. And as we breathe in and breathe out that spirit that surrounds, let us begin to become aware once again of the room in which we find ourselves. Perhaps moving your neck, shoulders, limbs. Begin to become
That
reacquainted
guy down there is the one talking right there.
with this space. And just allow yourself now to open your eyes if you're comfortable and be
What's that?
fully present and back into this space. And as we continue on, join me in a time of prayer. And so right now, what I know is that we have this incredible power and presence, this one divine mind that lives in, through, and as each and every one of us. For each of us are individuals. We have our own individual creativity, and yet we are a part of that one mind. Whether we call it God, Buddha, Jesus, the Great Presence, by whatever name we call it, it is that which is collective, and yet we are individual. And in that individuality, we each can be that storehouse of feelings, of emotions, of all that we have really experienced in our lives. And that gets stored all throughout our body. And it is in this presence and in this moment that we understand that we can experience and give honor to each of those feelings and let them be so that we can then release. And so with this knowledge and with this day, I know that there is healing abound and that each of us has the ability to heal all the various parts of our body, our memories. And that is the gift of our Science of Mind teaching. We don't have to live with those things. We can be free of those by simply honoring the teachings that our thoughts can change lives. And so as I breathe into that, I just give thanks for knowing that truth, for knowing that we indeed have the power within us to heal ourselves. And so right now I give thanks for that, and I'm just going to release this word now into that creative law, knowing that it takes that which I've spoken and it honors it by bringing it into manifestation. And so I say, and so it is, and now it is. Amen.
Thank you so much, Gary. That was wonderful. And I really enjoyed the new graphic this week. That was really cool. It was just, it really just focused and got my attention. Thank you for that so much.
Good. We like to try and exercise that creativity.
That's brilliant. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome again to Vida Spiritual Learning Center. I'm Reverend Kevin. I just got a couple of reminders, and of course, the first reminder is about some other ways in which you can enhance your spiritual practice. The first one is by joining Reverend Sunshine every Monday morning at 9 a.m. On Facebook Live. And this segment is what Reverend Sunshine calls a spiritual remedy. And she takes you through a little process, and there's a little interaction, and it's a really great way to kick off your Monday and kick off your week. So I encourage you all to join us there then. And the other opportunity we have to enhance your spiritual practice is through what we call Minute Miracles. This is some one-on-one time with a practitioner. And that's available to you after service today. We use the breakout feature on Zoom so that you will be in a separate space just with a practitioner, and they will know that spiritual truth for you. And by the end of the service, we'll have those practitioners highlighted in the chat, so you can either contact them or contact me, and we'll set that up for you as soon as we end this part of our gathering this morning. And also, as a kind of spiritual practice, being in gratitude, being in appreciation, I want to give thanks to all those folks who serve our community day in, week in, month in. All those ways that folks come together to create this beloved community. So I want to thank our practitioner of the day, Gary Takasian, for that wonderful meditation and invocation. Truly set a profound spiritual mood for our gathering today. And giving thanks in advance and appreciation for Reverend Sunshine's message. And I just know and trust it's powerful and transformative, as it always is. So thank you, Reverend Sunshine. I want to thank those folks that join our live stream and interact with those folks that randomly drop in and out of our Facebook live stream and our YouTube live stream. I want to thank our Leadership Council for continuing to do really powerful work as Vida Spiritual Learning Center is spreading its wings and flying. And they have been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, because we've been going through all of those seeding and germinating processes for all of this to blossom into the community that our vision holds for it. I want to thank our technical team that now includes Barry Holland, so you'll see him on our Zoom meeting. So thank you, Barry and Gary. It's nice that rhymes. And thanks to all of you for joining us here today. This really makes my day, and I hope your day, special by having this time for us to join together in beloved community. And as another spiritual practice, we call giving as a spiritual practice. Some may know it from other opportunities to give as tithing or demonstrative giving, or a variety of names. Here are the ways in which you can give if you're so called to give in this way. You can send your gift to 1524 East Hellman Street in Long Beach, California, 90813. Or you could use your bill pay service through your bank. Or you could use the donate link that I just put in the chat here on Zoom, and it's up on the chat in our live streams. And we also have buttons on our website, which I encourage you to visit. It's new and improved and really fantastic. So any of those ways, you can use your credit or debit card. And we've also added Zelle. So if you have that service with your bank, you can Zelle to vida@vidaslc.org. Now, the way in which this becomes a spiritual practice is the consciousness with which you give. And to me, it's a positive feeling. It's a God quality that wells up when I have that awareness as I give. And that feeling might be one of plenitude, or it might be one of generosity, or it might be one of abundance or prosperity. You might just feel like the giving is part of a spiritual flow for you, that something really positive is exchanging or transforming or transferring as you're giving. So I invite you just to take a breath and a moment to call to heart and mind what that quality or character of giving as a spiritual practice is for you. And we're going to recite our statement of giving together simultaneously in English and in Spanish. So here's an opportunity for you to unmute for those who are on Zoom, and we'll say this statement of giving together. So here we go. Abundance flows in my life. I am blessed with prosperity. I give with generosity. Yes. I tithe on faith, belief, and with a consciousness of love. My gift is a divine circulation through me that now benefits and grows our spiritual community and beyond.
And
And now it is. You sound wonderful. So here's an opportunity now to mute yourselves and sing full out with Walking in the Spirit as we prepare ourselves for today's message.
I'm walking in the Spirit, walking in the Spirit, walking in the Spirit of one God, loving in the Spirit, loving in the Spirit, loving in the Spirit of one God, moving in the Spirit. Oh, I'm moving in the Spirit. Oh, the Spirit. Oh, God. Growing in the Spirit. Every day I'm growing in the Spirit. Growing in the Spirit. The Spirit. The Spirit. Oh,
Welcome again, beloveds. How's my microphone? Can I get a thumbs up if it's, yeah, thank you. So here we are, living everyday wonder. And it's funny because for me, with this theme, living everyday wonder, I wonder my living every day. And I switch these words around as I actually am in awe of what we're celebrating this month and what we're looking at this month, which is the body. And today in specific, as our practitioner Gary Takasian mentioned, we are looking at and going to play in the realm and explore and examine the body remembers. The body remembers. So by the end of my talk today, my goal is that many of us will be saying and feeling this affirmation. I feel and honor every sensation in my body. I feel and honor every sensation in my body. And the reason I say that, and the reason this affirmation is actually so powerful, is because so many times we are taught to ignore the body. And if we remember from my talk last week, I said that this is the body of God. This is the way that spirit manifests itself in this three-dimensional form. This is not God in the body, and that this is just, the spirit in the machine, but it is all one, that my life, my living, my body, my mind, body, spirit, it is all one. And we get the opportunity to actually look at and examine how the body is so beautiful, so magnificent, so powerful, and yet in its beauty, in its divinity, in its godness, because we are having this three-dimensional form, we are limited to this world and the laws, the governance, if you will, of this three-dimensional mind, body, spirit, and the body part. Now, the reason that affirmation, I feel and honor every sensation in my body, is so important is because too many times we are taught to ignore it as if it's going to go away, as if it's not important, as if it is not the body of God and that we need to pay attention to it. And so what happens when we continue to ignore something? When we continue to ignore anything, it doesn't go away. It's still there. And as quiet as it's kept, things will fester. Things will continue to be there, continue to grow and unfold. All in the meantime, we're just like, ignoring it. And so what happens when we ignore trauma? What happens when we ignore the things that have happened in our life? What happens when we ignore the great things and the not so great things? We are living in these three-dimensional forms, in this three-dimensional world, and unprocessed and unhealed emotions hide in our body. That's just the truth. That's just what happens. And over time, these unaddressed or unprocessed or unhealed emotions can cause a range of challenges for us. They cause body aches, headaches, fatigues, and really serious medical health conditions, heart problems, anxiety, depression, despair. Are you depressed yet? Like when we think about these unhealed and unprocessed emotions, this energy in motion, when this energy in motion is simply coagulated and stuck and unhealed and unprocessed, and is not allowed to fully express, something happens within the physical body temple in that body realm. Because our body is more than just a machine. We're more than just the physical. And so when we begin to engage with our bodies, when we begin to engage with our bodies, as the life of God in this human body, as this human body, we begin to have a richer, meaningful way to resolve those unhealed emotions. And we begin to actually live from an open, authentic, honest, and powerful way of living. See, these bodies are actually super magnificent and they're super powerful. And when we fully engage in the activities that allow things to go through us, and not allow it to coagulate, the magnificence of our body temple begins to shine, because we're then using it in a proper manner. See, our bodies is not a storage shed. It's not it's not the public storage where we just get to store emotions and we get to store the traumas and the drama of life, our body is not a storage facility where we get to lock it up and leave it there and then, not come back to it. Because when it does, and when we do that, we find that it's filled with cobwebs and mold and dust and all kinds of unwanted gatherings of creatures, and all kinds of things start to happen. But when we actually begin to see that this three-dimensional form, that this physical body is ours to use for good, and that it is indeed the body of God itself, the body of life, we begin to engage in some practices and some techniques that actually serve us well. Let's take a look here as one of our quotes for today comes from 7,000 Ways to Listen. In the meditation earlier today, Gary invited us to listen to our bodies. And that act of listening to our bodies is not necessarily with the external ears, but really listening with that internal sense and that internal way of hearing. And in 7,000 Ways to Listen, Mark Nepo says, the task of being fully alive challenges you to stay in the center while feeling the full range of life on Earth. How is it that we're able to stay in the center? Too many times we've been taught to ignore and to bypass and to just kind of keep going. Don't get distracted. Just keep going. But what are the steps? What are the tools that we have and that we teach in our philosophy that actually help us to stay in the center and be fully alive? Well, we engaged in one of those tools this morning, which was meditation. And in that meditation, and in other meditations, what we're being asked to do is simply allow everything to drop away from us and to bring our focus and our attention to one thing. I like a simple breathing meditation because when I bring my focus and my attention to the breath, that is fully being at the center of my core. It's not ignoring anything or everything, but it is indeed just bringing my attention to the one thing, so that as I bring my attention to the one thing, which is the breath, I can then begin to apply that practice and that discipline to each and everything that is in my life. In other words, because of my meditation practice, I've been told that I have a way of being with people and that people get to feel like they are the only ones that I give my full attention to. It reminds me of the quote and actually the, not Hafiz, but it reminds me of this story, and it's not even a story, it's actually a quote that says, I once had 1,000 desires, but in my desire to know you, everything else melted away. And I use that in my meditation, that I once had 1,000 thoughts, 1,000 things just running through my brain, but in my quest, in my one desire to know spirit, to know myself as the life of God, that all of those other things melted away. And when people have complimented me on the opportunity that I have to simply be directly with you, where people feel like I am fully and undividedly paying attention, where they're the only person in the room, that comes because of my meditation practice and that practice being used in other areas of my life. It was Rumi, thank you. I once had 1,000 desires, but in my one desire to know you, all else melted away. And when Rumi says that, you know, when I think about that, I think about then all of the things that I can do that with in my opportunity to be with my beloved canine, right? And in my one desire to be in all places at all times, but being fully present with Mellow Day when it's my turn to be with Mellow Day, right? What happens is that there are times where we are quote unquote emo in our emotions. And that was last month's, you know, theme was the emotions, the energy in motion, those feelings, right? And sometimes we use them interchangeably, but that energy in motion that leads to the feelings, that body sensation. And sometimes that we're in it so tough that we feel a little bit overwhelmed or that it's too much for us. But as a result of a meditation practice or as a result of a mindfulness practice of being mindful, of being fully present, when we're fully present and process those emotions, those thoughts, those feelings, and don't let them hang on and linger, but actually are with them and process them and talk about them and begin that process of healing, which is really the process of revealing the thoughts and ideas that we have about a particular thing. When we allow ourselves to be fully present with the body temple, with the trauma that has been stored in our bodies, we allow ourselves to heal. We allow ourselves to experience the health and the wholeness that comes from the processing of those emotions and those feelings. And so I also want to share this quote here. And this quote comes from my grandmother's hands. And if you haven't read the book, I haven't read the book fully myself either, and yet it's so rich and so powerful, especially as we look at the celebration that we have in the month of June, where we celebrate Pride and we celebrate Father's Day and we celebrate Juneteenth and graduations and things of that nature. I think those all kind of go hand in hand. And Remsma says here in her book, My Grandmother's Hand, she says, in today's America, you tend to think of healing as something binary, you know, binary, this or that, right? Either you're broken or you're healed from that brokenness. That's the binary idea, that either you're broken or that you're healed from that brokenness. But she says, but that's not how healing operates. And it's almost never how human growth works. More often, healing and growth take place on a continuum, on this ebb and this flow, with innumerable points between utter brokenness and total health. And for me, when I think about that continuum, you know, it's not the one and done. It's not like you get it, you get the healing, boom, it's done. That's not how our human experience works. It's usually this continuum and this process. And so, yes, many of us get tired along the way because it's time to make the donuts. It's time to heal. It's time to talk about it. It's time to process. And yet, the gift in that process, the gift in that meditation, the gift in the talking about it, the gift in shining a spotlight on this situation, on the hurt, on the trauma, on the emotions is so utterly important, because each and every time we address it, there's more healing that happens. There's more revealing that happens. And we actually are giving the opportunity to our bodies to heal and to experience that essence of its wholeness, of its love, of the truth of what God is, whole, perfect, and complete. But to the degree in which we practice a spiritual bypass, to the degree in which we kind of ignore it and think that it's not there, it's to that degree that we also recognize that there's something happening in the body temple where we're experiencing hurt, harm, illness, discord. And Ernest Holmes talks about a time where that we will be emancipated, that we will be free from all discord. And the only way to have that freedom is through our spiritual practice, is through looking at it. It's not ignoring it, but to actually feeling it, feel the feelings and going through it and getting through to the other side. And it's not sexy. It's not pretty. It's usually a lot of it's a lot of heartache, and there's usually never any smiles about it. But what I could share with you is that at the other side of it, there is this freedom. There's this joy. There's this sweet spot that comes. And sometimes it feels like it's never going to get there. But believe me, the weight of storing that trauma and that drama and the anxiety and the depression and the pain in the long run is worse than just going through it, than just having that experience. And you don't have to do it alone. That's what spiritual community is about. Spiritual community is about helping and supporting one another. It's about engaging together in the spiritual practices and reminding ourselves and one another the spiritual truth that right where you are, God is. I can share with you that there are many in this spiritual community that have experienced much hurt, much harm, much trauma. And that now on the other side, that they're experiencing the fulfillment, the joy, the pleasure. And all you have to do is ask, how did you do it? And sometimes, why did you do it? And the why that you do it, sometimes, like Cynic says, it's the why. And I do it and I go through it. And we have practitioners available, and we have therapists available, and we have spiritual practices available and groups available, so that the why is that I want to feel my wholeness. I want to feel full in my body. I want to feel the joy in my body. I don't want any part of the stagnation and the illness. I want to feel the freedom in my body. And it's for those reasons that I go through the process, go through the spiritual process that it also takes. So I want to share with you one more quote. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. And that is, mindfulness not only makes it possible to survey your internal landscape with compassion and curiosity, but can also actively steer you in the right direction for self-care. Because this is what it's about. It's about self-care. It's about caring for the body temple. It's about caring for the body of God. And self-care is absolutely important. How many deaths, how many traumas have gone uncried? When have you just had a good cry and a good release? Our spiritual practices, our meditation, our mindfulness practice, our prayer, our study, our reading, our journal, our visioning, and our sacred service, engaging in spiritual counseling, giving as a spiritual practice, and being part of spiritual community all have aspects of self-care. And these all lead us back to asking that question, especially in visioning, what is for my highest and best? What is for the highest and best of my body temple? And as a result of saying yes, we can experience many of the joys and pleasures of melody and rhythm and feeling full of color and texture and opulence and clarity. And we will never get there, beloveds, if in fact we don't engage in these spiritual practices, in the mindfulness that actually leads us maybe to that therapist, or maybe to that massage, maybe to that a sound bath, or that cleansing, or that clearing, maybe to that right physician that can give us that formula that is for our body temple's highest and best. But unless we engage in these spiritual practices that point to that self-care, we will always be stuck. And that's not where I would like to be. That's not where I want our spiritual community to be. I want us to be in this place right here, where we're speaking this affirmation and where we are fully embodying the sentiment of this affirmation. I feel and honor every sensation in my body. We don't have to be afraid of the sensations. We don't have to be afraid of the emotions. We don't have to be afraid of walking through the process. My friend has a great t-shirt and it says, "But did you die?" Oh my gosh, I went through the roughest. But did you die? No, no. And as joyful as I'm feeling in this moment about did you die, I also know that on the opposite side of that is going through the pain, is going through the emotions, is going through that in order to have clarity, in order to get to the other side and joyfully laugh and go, but did you die? No. And so I didn't die. So I honor and feel my body sensations fully. I honor that. It's giving me a message. It's reminding me to go to the center, to the truth of who and what I am. And I cannot remind myself enough, and I cannot remind each and every one of you enough that you are the unique, unrepeatable, magnificent, powerful way that living spirit shows up as human form. And to the degree in which we embrace that this body is the life of life itself, that self-care, that love, that being tender, that being genuine, that surrounding yourselves around people that are going to uplift you, people that are not going to put you down, people that are not going to hurt and harm you, that we need to constantly be in the beloved community and remind ourselves and uplift one another to this truth, that you are life itself, that you are worth everything. You are worth more than your weight in gold and platinum, that your life is beautiful and amazing, and so is your body temple. Care for it. Care for it. Go into spiritual practice. Ask that indwelling consciousness, what's for your highest and best, and then do it. See the people that you need to see. Say what you need to say. Get rid of whatever it is you need to get rid of. Rearrange your life to such a point, to such a degree that you're saying, yes, I honor my life. I honor my body sensations. I love my life. I love life. And I love humanity. And so for this, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this message. I'm grateful for all of you. I'm grateful that I too am on this road, honoring and feeling my body sensations, honoring all of these experiences and going within, seeking those answers, and then taking the next indicated step. I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you, besides you, in front of you, behind you, besides you. I'm so grateful to this beloved community. It is so, and so it is. Let's just have a moment in prayer. Grateful for today, grateful for the message, grateful for the authors, and grateful for everything that has been so inspired divinely. Grateful for the words and grateful for all of the folks who are indeed body conscious and who recognize that our life is indeed the life of God. I'm simply calling forth health and wholeness, simply calling forth prosperity and abundance, simply calling forth love and family, simply calling forth all that is for the highest and the best. Simply also grateful for those things that have been removed from us that no longer serve us. Grateful for those people that are shifting in and out of our lives, knowing that everything is in divine order and that we're simply saying yes to that divine intuitive spirit that is simply guiding and directing us to our greatness, in our greatness, as our greatness. And so for this and so much more, I give thanks, letting it be so. I say, and so it is, and now it is, and I let it be so for now and forevermore. Beloveds, thank you for tuning in this week. Know that you are loved. Know that we are here for you as a spiritual community. Please feel free to reach in, to reach out as we reach in and reach out to you to be of mutual support and love. Have a great, great day, and let us go out singing in love we stand.
This is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see. With open hearts and open hands, we lift our voices, in love we stand. This is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see. With open hearts and open hands, we lift our voices, in love we stand. This is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see. With open hearts and open hands, we lift our voices, in love we stand. We lift our voices, in love we stand. We lift our voices, in love we stand.
Go forth, beloveds, and multiply this consciousness. See you all